December is here, and that means there's a lot of things to look forward to, not the least of which are the various holiday seasons that people love to celebrate, and for good reason. But if you're looking for something a bit more violent, there's always boxing. Unfortunately for you, one of the people who will be fighting in that particular event is Jake Paul. Yeah, we just can't escape him, can we? At the very least, though, it'll be entertaining to see him and his fellow fighter make fools of themselves as they try to make it memorable. Allow us to show you the Jake Paul vs. Tommy Fury press conference video. Number 4. Jake Paul vs. Tommy Fury fight. Now, if we're being honest here, one of the knocks on Jake Paul has been that he has not fought a real boxer. He has faced a former NBA star and 2 former UFC fighters from different weight classes, if you didn't know, and a social media star in his very first fight. Now, yes, these were people who fought him in the ring straight up, or at least mostly straight up, but that doesn't mean that he's worthy of being an acclaimed boxer that Jake Paul thinks he is. But that could change soon. Jake Paul will fight fellow undefeated boxer Tommy Fury on December 18th in Tampa, Florida. The bout will be contested at 192 pounds and is contracted for 8 3-minute rounds. Fury, 22, is the half-brother of lineal heavyweight champion Tyson Fury and is 7-0 in pro boxing. Tyson Fury joked in an interview with Boxing Social that if Tommy lost to Paul, he should change his name. Paul then proposed a wager. If Paul beats Tommy Fury, then Tommy will have to change his name temporarily from Tommy Fury to Tommy Fumbles. If Tommy wins, Paul will give him an extra $500,000 of Paul's fight purse. Paul told ESPN that Tommy Fury agreed to the name change wager rather than a straight-up money bet. I offered Fury to change his name to Tommy Fumbles or put up $500,000 of his purse if he loses, Paul said. He chose to agree to change his name. Guess he puts more value on money than he does his own family name. Maybe he knows his family is disowning him once he loses. So money and Tommy's girlfriend and UK TV personality, Molly, and all he's going to have left. Amanda Serrano, ESPN's number 3 ranked female boxer in the world, will also compete in the co-main event on the Paul vs. Fury card, sources say. Her opponent has not been set. Serrano, who is promoted by Paul's most valuable promotion, Sports, has a 41-1-1 record with 30 knockouts. Paul is coming off a split decision win over former UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley on August 29th in Cleveland. This will be Paul's 3rd fight this year. He knocked out Ben Askren, a former Bellator and 1 champion and UFC veteran, in the first round back in April. Paul also owns knockout wins over NBA veteran Nate Robinson and fellow YouTuber Anson Gibb. Now, Fury fought on the Paul vs. Woodley undercard, defeating Paul's sparring partner Anthony Taylor by unanimous decision. He has stopped 4 of 7 opponents by knockout, and this will be Fury's first fight going past 4 rounds. Paul vs. Fury will be promoted by Paul's most valuable promotions in Showtime Sports and in association with Tony Holden Productions. And this is where we get to talk about the press conference video, because as you might have expected, the confrontation between Jake Paul and the Fury family was, well, full of fury on both sides. Number 3, Jake Paul vs. John Fury. At the press conference, Paul found himself verbally sparring primarily with John Fury, the man who raised and trained both Tommy and his half-brother heavyweight champion, Tyson Fury. Paul appeared at the press conference via a screen while the Furies were seated on stage, which led to some tense and awkward moments, especially when John began to interject early on. "Shut up, schoolboy, and speak when you're spoken to," John said to Paul. "You shut up, you fat lard," Paul fired back. "You're mad because you can't come to the United States." Paul: "Tommy's green. Tyson's trying to coach him like a champion, but the kid's not a champion." John: "How do you know? You don't know anything about boxing, and your team doesn't know anything about boxing. You are all useless, and you're going to find out, you bum." Paul: "You all f***ed up." John: "What did you say, cat weasel? You look like you're straight out of a comic joke shop, man. Take the glasses off so I can see the fear in your eyes. Take them off. There's no glasses in these eyes. There's no glasses on ours." Paul: "Hey Tommy, shut your up for me." John: "Jake Paul has rigged fights. Let me tell you, there's no rigged fight. You're cupping it, mate, and you'll know it and all. And I can see the fear in your eyes because you won't take them glasses off. That's some first-class shit show he won't remove his eyewear. Get the glasses off, you idiot. I can see good enough." Paul: "Suck my dick." John: "You ain't got a dick to suck. You've got a fanny between your legs." Bet you didn't see that getting intense, right? But it did, and then some, and that still wasn't the only thing said at the press conference. Number 2, the boxer. Focusing on Tommy for a sec, he elaborated on what he meant about those rigged fights of Jake's. When his fights aren't rigged, he can't win, Tommy said. Let's be truthful here. When his fights are not rigged and they're not set up, he loses. And let's be honest, I'm not a UFC fighter, I'm not a YouTuber, and I'm not a basketball player. Who else you fought, yeah? I've been doing this my whole life. Come December 18th, you're going to have a funny look at the team around you, because they've got you in a world of trouble, my friend. Now, if you're not sure why Jake's being accused of rigging fights, there are a few reasons behind those statements. The first comes from the quality of opponents that Jake has faced, which we outlined earlier. One of them, Ben Askren, was a former UFC fighter who got knocked out by Jake Paul in the first round. Now, the reason we put emphasis on this is that right after the fight, Ben was caught with his entourage backstage laughing and smiling as if he had won, which he didn't, making many believe that Jake had rigged the fight and Ben got paid handsomely to take a dive in the first round. UFC fighter Nate Diaz was one to criticize Paul for his quality of opponents and insinuate the fixing of fights as well. Furthermore, when brother Logan Paul fought Floyd Mayweather, Mayweather noted in the press conference afterward that it wasn't a real fight, and that's why it lasted all 8 rounds. That's not what you want to hear from someone when you're trying to prove that you're a real fighter. So you could very easily debate that this could be the biggest fight for Jake Paul so far. Number 1, Jake bites back. Naturally, Jake Paul isn't the kind of guy to take things lying down, so he hit back hard on Tommy Fury and all those who doubt him. This is an easier fight than Tyrant, Paul said at the pre-fight UK press conference. This is a young kid who's never had a real fight, and I'm gonna knock him the out because he doesn't have a chin. He's never been hit hard by anybody. He continued, these people think they're gonna come in and beat me because they have amateur careers or they're professional this or UFC that. They don't understand what they're getting in with. It's funny to see each and every one of them fail in front of the world. The same exact thing is going to happen to Tommy, and people will just come back and look at these press conferences and these interviews and say, damn, this kid really knew what he was talking about. Now, it should be noted once more that there was nothing easy about the Tyron Woodley fight, as Jake Paul almost lost that fight by both KO and split decision. But then again, Jake Paul always tries to spin things his way, which is why he's been able to endure so long if you really think about it. But can he spin things his way in the ring in order to get the win? Well, that remains to be seen on all fronts. So, what do you think? What do you think of this look at Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury and how their press conference got a bit out of hand? Were you surprised that it went in this direction? Or do you think that given this is Jake Paul, it went about as expected? Do you think this fight has any chance of being memorable? Or do you think this will be yet another Jake Paul fight that we wish didn't happen? Let us know in the comments below, and we will see you next time on the channel.